CRO wisdom pod with Daniel Wax today. Daniel's is a cool guy. He's CRO at SelfDisrpt. He's also CEO at another company, used to be at SkillUp. So he's somewhat of an entrepreneur, VP of revenue at Connected, which is a cool company as well in the sales field, fractional head of demand generation of Edge Genius. So Dan's pretty deep in the sales world. So it's an honor for me to have him today. Oh, and founder at Tutor Direct. We're going to talk about that. Dan, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about you and your company.
Yeah. So my name is Daniel Wax. I'm currently the CRO for SelfDisrpt. We are the modern way of doing marketing, sales and marketing together and automating it to reclaim your time. What that boils down to is we run a software that automates and personalizes your LinkedIn actions. So liking people's posts, viewing their profile, following their profile, messaging, connecting with people. You can email people in the same campaigns. We're about to launch a dialer built into it and automated texting. And it has a video prospecting built in along with data collection as well. Where that came from was a lot of years of working in the sales field. So started out as a commission-only sales rep, selling custom tap handles to craft breweries and sales promotional materials to spirits before I was even legal to drink them. And then took that experience in talking with people and doing enterprise sales and built my first couple companies, Tutor Direct and a couple that aren't listed. Got a couple of exits under my belt before the age of 20. And then when I graduated college, I took a sales role on commission again with tech company, Lead Gen SaaS. And we grew from startup as just a couple of us, under 10 employees, to Inc. 500 in under 2 years. I became their VP of revenue, managing their teams out. Realized very quickly I wasn't a fan of the corporate world. It just wasn't for me. So ended up going into consulting companies on how to build their tech stacks and training their sales teams, and realized that everyone who was having amazing results was using a combination of LinkedIn, email, content, and the phone. So SelfDisrpt is the brainchild from that, which is the end goal is how can we get as close to being human and creating genuine relationships with automation in the business to business world. And so it's taking everything that we put in place with tech stacks and teaching people to manually do, and SelfDisrpt is automating all of that process and making it human.
Alrighty. Yeah, I'm not a fan of corporate culture. I think that us Gen Z / millennials were all like that, and even yesterday I was talking to a guy that's in Agile for big companies. And I was like, how do you make Agile non-boring? How can you come to my podcast and make it interesting? Because most of these guys, they just use words, right? Buzzwords, corporate words. And it's so boring to have them on the pod. Fortunately, this guy talks 40 million, 200 million. So that sparked serotonin in my brain. Your background, quite cool. A couple of exits under 20. Is that what I heard? Like, why did you started so young?
So let's see. When I was 16 years old, I started my first nonprofit. Essentially going to inner city schools, K-8 elementary schools in the greater Miami area where I'm from. We provided after-school tutoring, sports, did computer drives, computer science with them. And that started me really in my mission, which was education. And when I was 18, I had already done a bit of sales and I got kicked out of college my first year in college. And had all this free time. I was working a commission-only sales job. And what did I want to do on my free time? So in my free time, I decided to build my mission of helping inner city people who couldn't afford, tutoring or extra education, breaking that barrier down. So we built a software, and it was back in 2016 that had an interactive whiteboard. You can upload PDFs, mark them up in real time with the tutor, get matched with the tutor on the spot, have audio, video, text chat, whiteboard shareable back in 2016. So this is 4 years before everyone started using Zoom that way. And we grew it up a little bit. Ended up that we won a pitch competition, and one of the people that were in the pitch competition was an investor in a large education company that's now publicly traded. And they watched our beta launch. They watched us grow. And when you're 18 years old and get an offer that's, low six figures, you take it. So it kind of kickstarted my journey. It was a smaller exit. And then there was another organization I started that the company didn't go much of anywhere, but the patent held weight. So we exited on the patent itself and dissolved the company. And nowadays I'm getting back into the world of mergers and acquisitions. So what you were saying previously, it looked like I was CEO somewhere else. SelfDisrpt is actually a brand that's been around since about 2020, doing LinkedIn content marketing originally. And they actually acquired my organization and brought me in as a partner and chief revenue officer, and pivoted the business to being content support and the software as our main offering.
Right. And for the question, why are you that way?
Why am I that way? It comes down to mindset at the end of the day. Like, I remember when I was 12 years old, my dad runs his own law firm, solo lawyer, and he had a business coach who focused on mindset and business development. And he would take me out to dinner as his oldest son, and we would talk, and he would share all that with me. So it started to break down that barrier. And then my first job was 16 years old, like as an intern at a B2B sales organization, and my internship was make commission. So when that first check hit, the second week I got a sale on an enterprise deal at 30% commission. I was like, wow, that's possible. And as I kept on selling and selling and selling, it became something that at a certain threshold, it became more so about, are the people that I'm selling this to, truly getting value, and am I actually changing their life or doing something that means something to them? And that pivot took my career to another level, where that pivot made me care more about the results and seeing where, okay, the top of the funnel isn't as valuable as truly what you can do with who's already in the funnel. So it changed the way that I thought about things at that point again. But why am I that way? Everyone has limiting beliefs, and I've kind of programmed myself to, anytime that I hear the word can't in my head or won't, I'm like, what am I saying to myself? Get rid of that.
Love it.
Because at the end
It's
of the day,
beautiful.
if someone else is doing it, you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, your answer was pretty good. Got me thinking, what if all youth had business and life coaches? What if all youth had at least a 30-minute session with a Tony Robbins on a daily basis?
Mm-hmm.
The educational system is so fucked, to say the least. Like, what about giving these kids hopes of being something greater, and just telling them about the possibility? We don't speak mindset at school, right? It's just like fucking mathematics and words, which are obviously useful. Maths not so much. I'm doing mental math all the time, so that is cool, but it's really basic. What about just teaching someone about their possibilities and patting them on the back? Who is patting us on the back? Me, my parents? Not really. My teachers? No. My friends? No. We were like bullying one another pretty much all the time. What do you think about that?
Well, the issue, I have an issue with the educational system, but for a completely different reason, which is, it doesn't take a lot to make the educational system that we have in the United States today actually be good. So, for example, what I mean by that is, think about it like you said, we teach math, but that's not something that you're using every day. It's not taught in a mindset manner. It's not taught for taxes or in any type of purpose. Now, the true purpose behind having a mathematics course when you're growing up is to teach you critical thinking, is to teach you complex thinking and get your mind adapted to it. That's why when you're taking tests or anything, they give you the example of, if Sally has 3 oranges, then does this, then does that, what's that equal with the story? Well, the easiest fix in the world is stop talking about Sally's oranges and start talking about her taxes.
Or how many more oranges can she get? Does she have an orange tree? Does she had a fertilizer for that orange tree?
Exactly. And it's literally that easy of a change. And it's the same thing with college education, where if you take that and you move that into the high school realm, where it just gets more and more advanced, you get those general core prerequisites that you need before anything, before you get to college. And anyone can now basically be self-sufficient at a high school level, the same as an associate in the US. And then at the same point, you go in and you now have specializations. where whatever someone wants to study in the moment, they can study it and they're welcome to change it the same way that you can do that in a university or college today. But you get rid of that two prerequisites by making that shift in the primary education.
Right. Thank you for these points. I want to talk about the business now because we only have 9 minutes left. SelfDisrpt, quite cool. I use Apollo, Apollo. They're quite beastly nowadays. They're releasing a feature like every week. And I'm talking about, decent features that are somewhat game changers. Their price point is amazing. Obviously they have some flaws, right? And also I am associated with them. I'm always open to try new software. How can you guys compete against a giant like that? And I'm not even saying ZoomInfo. ZoomInfo is pretty much dead with Apollo coming. That's contrarian, but thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the biggest difference between us and Apollo is amazing. We didn't start out to compete with them. We started strictly as a LinkedIn automation tool. The one thing that Apollo apparently has now, but you still have to go do it. So it's more of LinkedIn tasking. Now, where we come into play is we started with the LinkedIn automation space and then brought that into email, bring that into dialer and bring that into data collection. So where we really fit in more so is if you want to be someone who has true automation, where if someone opens your email, that prospect gets their profile viewed, 3 of their posts liked. The next day, they get another email from you. And regardless of what happens, you maybe send a blank connection request. And you want to have any activity that someone does on LinkedIn or any activity someone does on email talk to each other fully and have that fully automated. That's where we play. So we didn't start to compete. We didn't start out trying to compete with Apollo. But once the dialer and automated texting comes out, we just might.
Love it, dude. Tell us about some specific features on LinkedIn. For example, I just love to have an automated message for CEOs fulfilling X conditions, sending me a connection request once I accept them to ask them if they do podcasting. I've started using the LinkedIn live conferences, and I'd love some automation with that just to invite people automatically. I would love to follow up automatically with some folks. I would like to automatically also reach out to anyone that's going to lead gen event and ask them if we could collaborate, hop on a pod, or if I could advise them on some GTM tactics. What do you think about these, and what do you have in your roadmap, pipeline, and existing product?
Yeah, so a couple things. The first one is like leveraging LinkedIn events, people who are attending events on like how to podcast. So big difference between using Apollo as an example. With our software, you would take the URL of the event itself. That has all the data of the attendees. All you would need to do is copy and paste the website URL of the event into SelfDisrpt. From there, the best practice is to always view a profile, like their posts, or follow them before you send a connection request. The reason why is each one of those is a notification, and each post like is another notification. So you start to build familiarity, and the theory of reciprocity starts to kick in because you're doing things for them now that help them to grow. So that's the first step. After you've done that, then you'd send your connection request. Now, specifically for an event, if they connect with you, here's where you're going to ask them something about what has you interested in going to the event, or a specific question like you were asking. Hey, saw that you were going here, thought that do you do podcasts? It's always about permission-based openers with LinkedIn messaging. You can't drive straight into a sales conversation. Connecting and pitching isn't the way to go, even if you have an intent filter. It's permission-based openers that lead someone along very easily, that allows someone to have a conversation with you that doesn't feel like a pressure-based conversation. You want to move it offline as soon as you can. So once you go back and forth once or twice, you want to see if there's a phone number that you can just have a quick call on, or if you can schedule a call, even if the agenda isn't fully baked. The reason why is it's just going to be that much easier. No sale ever happens over Messenger. No partnerships ever happen over Messenger. You need a conversation. Now, if they don't connect with you and you're running an event, well, if you're both attending that event, that is you now have a direct line of communication to their inbox. You do not need to be connected to them. So you get one chance here. Here's where you'll send a message that has accept or ignore that'll give them an offer based on the event that they're attending. Now, if they don't answer anything on LinkedIn, I would then bring it over to an email campaign. This is an outbound sales campaign if they don't connect with you. If they do not connect with you, this would be emails to them from your personal account, like the ones you sent me to be on this. And then by the second token, if they do connect with you by LinkedIn's terms of services, they're opted into your marketing communication. So anyone who connects with you, you can actually set up in a nurture email campaign or add to a newsletter based on their terms of services. Everything that I just described can be fully automated, that you're completely hands off until someone responds and self-disrupt.
Love it, dude. I want to talk about the next 6 months and the next for the company in the next 5 years for you. So first, the next 6 months for the company, what do you want to accomplish by then? And for you, what do you want to accomplish before 30?
Yeah. So we launched SelfDisrpt as a platform 4 months ago in a private beta. We launched publicly last month, about 5 weeks ago, for anyone to sign up for an account anytime they want. Marketing starts next week. In 120 days, we're up to 6 figures in sales and above 40K in monthly recurring revenue. So it's been insane growth. So what's next for the next 6 months? We're taking all of that cash flow and putting it towards increasing our product development so that we can continue to provide the best experience to our users and the best software out there. And we're putting that towards customer success. So that means we're bringing on customer success managers, community managers, in order to make sure that people don't churn and everyone truly is having success. We can jump in and help them wherever. We're moving to a product-led growth model and adding in the dialer, SMS automation, AI copywriting, and after that, Twitter automation. So that's what's next up on our roadmap. Now, what's next over the next 2-3 years? Making AI as human as possible when it comes to prospecting. That's number one. How that boils down is SelfDisrpt is just the start. What I'm looking for is the next generation of hungry people who are in their 20s, who have an eye on like that software is the next thing, or they want to be disruptive, that they think differently. And I want to help to mold those people into operators and owners and invest in their futures in helping them to bring these ideas of what software, what AI can do in the future into business realms. So that's me personally. Before 30, I want to not only have SelfDisrpt, but a venture studio as well before 30. And my main goal will just be helping to bring disruptive emerging technologies to market, whether that is robot security guards, whether that is new ways of patching up scars that leave zero, or new way of patching up wounds that leave zero scars. Started to explore those now.
Wow, that's interesting. Do you have any net worth goals before 30?
Any what goals?
Net worth goals.
Not really. When I first started out my career, I set out net worth goals. I used to set out monetary goals. And once it reached a certain point, I truly decided it's about being happy for myself. So you can put money away, but that I want to be worth 100 million. What's that matter if you die with the 100 million? What does that matter if you're not donating it to a good cause or not using it to create genuine experiences? So my goal isn't to have a specific number net worth. Instead, it's the goal of knowing that I want to have a rainy day fund of X amount. I want to have my investments be worth this amount. A net worth of 5 mil of anyone before the age of 30 gives you a base to set your entire life up. And if you just invest that nicely, you can choose how you want to live and just grow that. So really my goals have become more about, seeing and changing society, kind of like your long goals, where Neuralink is a big thing I'm interested in. I'm interested in nanotechnology and robotics and including that into biomechanical technology. So a lot of different ways to go, but it's recently gotten away from net worth and become more about changing society.
Love it, dude. Thanks so much. Where can people find more about you?
Yeah, so you can find more about me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Both of them are Wolf of SaaS. So that's Wolf of SaaS, linkedin.com/in/Wolf Wolf of SaaS, or on Instagram, my handle is Wolf of SaaS. You can find out more about SelfDisrpt and check out how our software works and book a demo. See if you'd like to try it for a month at selfdisrupt.com with no U. So that's SELFD